Hi everyone, this is Dr. Catherine Kelly, and I wanted to do something a little bit different for you for this newsletter. Partially because there's a lot of fear coming up for folks right now. There is so much happening in the world and devastating, horrifying, very, very sad, heart-wrenching stuff. And I do not at all want to discount that. But what that is also doing to people and for people is stirring a lot of their own fears. Now, it is very easy to be fearful in a world that is fearful. It's like joining in on everything that's happening, and no, we don't want to join in on the fear and the devastation, but at the same time, we can't help being compassionate about it. But what that's doing is it's adding to the collective fear, but it's also that collective fear is adding to our own individual core fears. So I just want to press to you a little bit about facing those fears, because right now the universe is pressing up against us. It's really pushing us to identify what are the core fears that we're having. I'm having lots of people come in talking about, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid to leave this job because I don't know if I can do what I know that I'm really wanting to do. Having people come in saying, gosh, I'm really in an unhealthy relationship, but I'm afraid to leave it because what if I never have another one? Weighing those options. Oh my gosh, I'm really afraid to deal with this emotional eating because if I do, what is that going to mean for my identity? So all of these things that are coming up for people are there to help people address that core fear that is creating the obstacle in your path to evolution. And so I want to reiterate that. Those fears are creating the obstacles that are getting in the way of our evolution. So soul health is all about teaching you to figure out what is not working in your life. What do we need to get out of our soul health model in order to clean up the debris, get out of our own way so that we can fill it up with things that are good for us, and that will help us align with ourselves at that deepest place. That is exactly how we create radiant living for ourselves. That's how we find that inner peace that all of us are looking for. But we can't do that if we don't face those fears, if we don't face those core issues that are coming up within ourselves. So I'm going to tell you a little personal story that a lot of you may be very surprised to hear. I have been on national and international radio, over 90 shows. I have done national workshops. I've traveled the country doing continuing education workshops for healthcare providers. I've done local speaking workshops. I do these Facebook videos. I do lots of public speaking kinds of things. And yet, as part of this huge training that I'm in, I'm kind of, well, I should say kind of, I'm being primed to basically get on TV. And the second I heard one of the coaches from this program say, you've done the radio thing, you already know how to do it. You've already done the writing thing, you know how to do it. We are going to prime you to get you onto national television. And I was like, I was wanting to hyperventilate. And the thing about that is that it started to stir my own fears. And now, granted, there were a few of them. One is fear of losing my anonymity. Now, again, a lot of people might be surprised by that. To me, that losing my anonymity means actually losing my privacy. It's not so much my anonymity, it's more my privacy, because outside of work, I am a fairly private person. I come home, I chill out, I hang out with friends. I do not spend a whole lot of time out in public after hours, so there's part of me that is afraid of that. But it's a core fear. It's a core fear that I'm having to face. And so I needed to start working through that. Now, about 5 weeks ago, I was writing the program, but I started breaking out in all these little rashes in strange places. And I'm thinking, okay, is this poison ivy? What is this? But it resembled poison ivy, but at the point, I couldn't figure out where I could have gotten the poison ivy. Even in my dogs, they couldn't have given it to me. But then I looked up the mind-body reaction to rashes, and it basically said that is the breakout of teeny tiny fears. So boom, hit me in the head, and I was on a trip out west, and I was processing through a lot of that stuff and realizing I needed to redecide how I was going to handle that. For two reasons. One of which is, I do think that I've got some messages that need to get out there. So those of you who read my newsletter or read my other information online, obviously you're reading it for a reason. So there is really good information that I think I can provide. But the other part of it is to get past the fear, and I need to redecide. I had to face myself to redecide. So I basically decided that there was no option to be afraid. And I know that sounds really easy. It was not. I had to do a lot of processing about that. The reason that I'm bringing this up is I did a Facebook video a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I said at the end is that it is time for us to redecide. And I had some comments about that I think really spurred me to make sure that I shared this on the newsletter and then shared it again on social media, because it is time for us to redecide. We have to redecide. We are not going down a path that is working in many ways. And so we've got to redecide. When it comes to our fears, if we choose to keep doing things the old way, we will not evolve. And remember, soul health is all about evolving. It is all about getting out of our own way, getting that stuff, the residue of the human condition, in other words, our old gunk, our old fears, out of the way so that we can fill up our lives with things that will help us align. And so it's that whole point of that any fear is nothing but an obstacle that gets in the way of our evolution. So I'm going to say that again. Any fear is nothing more than an obstacle that gets in the way of our evolution. And so we have to decide and redecide, how are we going to handle this? Are we going to step out of our comfort zone and move forward, or are we going to stay the same and not do anything different? So this is what conscious evolution is all about, is basically consciously deciding we're going to do something different. So I really want to press upon you that if you're going through those old layers, if you're going through those old fears, if you're going through that old stuff, it is time to redecide, and only you can do that. You can't wait around for it. If you do wait around for it, you're kind of going to miss the train, because evolution is happening, consciousness is happening, and the universe is trying to get your attention by those fears coming up. So I just want you to really think about, what do I need to face? What do I need to redecide? And you're going to have more information coming through this website, through my Facebook page, and also through any of the social media, the newsletter. But I want you to think, how am I going to redecide? It's not only necessary, it is vital to your evolution. So take some thoughts about that. And spend some time. I would love to hear more back from you about what it is about redeciding that you are avoiding, or what you have redecided and you have found success with. So thank you very much. Have a great day.